Hi, welcome to the Men's Forum. I'm your host, Gary Costanza, and tonight we're going to continue our coverage of our Legislative Education and Awareness Day up in Albany. With me here in the studio is my co-host, John McGrath. John, welcome.
Hey, Gary, pleasure.
What we're going to do tonight is bring to you another very interesting clip of Assemblyman Bob Prentice, and he's going to speak a little bit about a family court reform bill that he has before the Senate and the Assembly. And we're going to watch that clip. We're going to speak a little bit about what the bill entails. Actually, I have some other stuff I'd like to read. We did mention on a previous show that there was a petition. We gave the website for this petition, and I think I'm going to probably read what it is and how everybody can sign this online. Right?
What petition is that, Gary? Is that the shared parenting bill? Or the reform bill?
This is the family law reform petition drawn up by the FamilyLawReformNow.org.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. That's a good.
I believe it's fashioned after a couple of lawsuits that were won in a couple of other states pertaining to the unconstitutionality of custody awards, sole custody awards, and also child enforcement. Well, let me first this letter that came with it. I'll read this letter that came with it. I guess it was sent out to all politicians. It starts, "Dear friends, this is to introduce Family Law Reform Now. Reach out to all entities that are seeking a change in policy and respectfully ask you to support our petition drive. We believe that non-custodial is a euphemism for parents who have been stripped of their natural rights, that stripping parents of their natural rights is the primary function of the courts, and that ordering stripped parents to maintain the responsibility of paying child support without the right to be a parent is unrealistic and unconstitutional. We believe the present policy has done more to adversely affect our society than any other, and that elected officials and community leaders at every level must see the correction of this policy as a statewide priority. Every year, because of a lack of vision by our elected officials, more and more men and women are being put into this position. The devastation is profound. These parents are voters or potential voters and community members. They can play a crucial role in getting the change in policy we need now. We believe an aggressive campaign for the hearts and minds of these people is necessary to achieve the correction in policy. We reject the limited fight that parents are forced to wage in order to maintain their natural rights. We reject the whining claim that foster parents are better than natural parents. We reject the whining claim that parents don't want to pay child support. These claims ring hollow when parents are being casually stripped of their identity. We want family law reform to be prioritized as essential to the well-being of our society. It is necessary today to build a massive and aggressive educational campaign. Most people either know little about the law and its practice or have misconceptions about it. This campaign should bring together all organizations that deal with social issues. It is essential that we support each other and come together as a united front. We believe that this time of so-called government austerity is an excellent opportunity to cut the fat that is the court system, the support enforcement system, the foster care system, et al. Feel free to contact us anytime we can be of assistance, and anytime you want to discuss family law reform now. Sincerely, Elder Merchant, President. The website is FamilyLawReformNow.org. We'll have that at the ending credits.
Right. And that bill goes hand in hand with the shared parenting bill. I mean, they work so well together because they cover a lot of the same problems.
Certainly.
And it's all about the family.
Exactly.
And keeping a family unit, although, you know, just because you're divorcing doesn't mean that the family has to be destroyed.
Oh, of course not.
This is what's...
Of course not. That's what David Sittman said, of course.
Right.
You know. Let me just, the petition itself is right here. It's only a about one small paragraph, so let me read that. The Family Law Reform Now petition. In light of the New York State family law and court policy that makes the primary function that of stripping male and female parents of their rights, while at the same time requiring those same parents to maintain their child support responsibilities, and despite numerous studies that have been published showing this policy to adversely affect children and to promulgate societal issues that include domestic violence, domestic hostage, child abuse, juvenile delinquency, adult dereliction and homelessness, drug abuse, suicide, the growth of the prison system, the foster care system, the welfare state, and more. We, the people, hereby petition the state of New York for an independent investigation of the above policy and court's application thereof, including public hearings, and in the interim, to establish a moratorium on all orders that strip parents of their rights and all support enforcement and collection proceedings. That's unconstitutional. It's arbitrary.
Right. Well, that's why, the court reform system, bill rather, that's, it's inevitable. It's something we have to do. This is absolutely necessary.
Yes, exactly.
We've created a monster here in New York State, and all this is a money-making scheme. It's a way for our system to get rich. Judges, lawyers, courts, forensic psychologists, all of them combined are part of this system, and that's all this was set up to do, was to make money. And in the interim is destroying families and innocent lives. And look at the statistics. Look what it's doing to children.
Tragedies. What men go through. I've heard such horror stories. A lot of men are committing suicide because they don't see their children. Kids are taken away from them. Kids are moved out of state.
Well, how many kids are growing up and committing suicide because they can't have both of their parents in their lives?
Exactly.
Or turning to drug addictions, or
it's too easy to get divorced. Well, we have two very important bills, correct? The Bob Prentice Family Court Reform Bill, and also the Shared Parenting Bill that David Siddickman sponsored, that we spoke about on our last show, which we'll probably be able to go in depth into possibly on another show. But we're going to show the Bob Prentice Assembly Bill 6269, and Bob Prentice talks at length about it and what's important about it. Would you like to say something before we get that clip going?
Well, yeah, somebody had said to me earlier that you can't fight town hall. Well, just as a thought, maybe we can't fight town hall, but we can change town hall. We can change the people who run town hall. And in a long run effect, yeah, we can fight town hall, and we ought to fight town hall, because, like Dave Siddickman said, this system that we have in place currently is broken, and it needs to be fixed.
Exactly. Well said. I couldn't say it better myself. So with that, let's go to the clip. This is Bob Prentice, and you'll see it.
On the bill is Bob Prentice himself. Bob, if you could.
So what does fatherhood mean? Fatherhood means being there. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Right. Being allowed to be there. Being allowed to be there. There you go. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank the Coalition of Fathers and Families New York for inviting me here today to announce the legislation that I have picked up from former Assemblyman Jay Dinga and have introduced to help the families here in New York State, and I'm referring specifically to Assembly Bill 6269.
Write it down. 62.
Write it down and sign that petition too. But I've sponsored this legislation because I agree with the coalition that the best parent for children is both parents. And if we, as a society, are to do what is best for our children, then we must consider the best interests of the child. Is it best served by one parent with no visitation rights? What do you think? No! By having having no influence from the other parent? What do you think? Or do we truly consider what is best for the child and attempt, even in cases of separation and divorce, a stable and loving two-parent relationship for the child? Did you know that tonight more than 28% of the children in the United States will go to sleep in homes in which one of their parents do not live? That's quite a shocking statistic. And did you know that more than half of our children will likely spend a significant part of their childhood living apart from one of their parents? Our children need to maintain their relationships with both of their parents. That's what our proposed legislation, shared parenting, is all about. Without relationships with both parents, our children are at a greater risk to experience many of our most urgent social problems, from crime to adolescent pregnancy to domestic violence. And it certainly, I must add, is costly to the taxpayers of New York State. Society needs to be changing its mind about each parent's role in family life, and men in particular are increasingly viewed as superfluous to family life. You're either expendable or part of the problem. That's not right, that's not fair, it certainly is not fair to the children. So the question is, does every child need both parents? And society increasingly is answering no. Well, what's your answer?
Yes.
Yes. And we got to make that heard on the steps of the Capitol. We have to make that heard in the Assembly. We have to make that heard in the Senate. We have to let everyone know your answer is yes. Few idea shifts in this century as consequential as this one. And at stake is nothing less than what it means to be a parent, who our children will be, and what kind of society we will become. And so far, New York State's attitude seems to be one of either indifference, intolerance, or downright ignorance. New York State government has been able to come up with is more child support payments, more prisons, and let's throw all those deadbeat parents in jail. Government's response is that non-custodial parents have no roles in their children's lives other than cash cow. Cash cow. I believe that the interests of our children are best served by having both parents involved in the upbringing of their children, and that's why I am very proud to take over the legislation where former Assemblyman Jay Dinga left off and sponsor Assembly Bill 6269. And among its provisions, and there are 15 provisions in there, but among certain ones I would like to highlight. One, of course, is that it establishes that shared parenting custody is in the best interest of the child. Don't you agree? And it eliminates visitation for non-prime custodial parent and substitutes parenting time. Furthermore, it mandates mediation and family counseling prior to appearance in family court in any divorce involving children. And it provides sanctions for withholding parenting time without cause. How many times has that happened to you? A number of my constituents have told me. That's just plain wrong. It provides that the local child support unit must keep accurate records and ensure quarterly statements to those who pay support. And it allows both parents access to records and information relating to the health and the education and welfare of the children. And should you have that right?
Yes.
Yes. That's what we're fighting for. And very, very important, because I know a number of you have come to me over the years and expressed concern about the injustice of this one. It would allow that child support be based on your net income, not the gross. Now, these proposed amendments are intended to make it easier for both parents to be involved in the lives of their children. The interests of children are best served by parenting time for both parents. And I leave you with this thought again. What is fatherhood? Fatherhood means being there, but furthermore, fatherhood means being allowed to be there. Thank you very much.
All right, welcome back. That was a good little speech, huh? Remember that speech? That was great.
Oh, yeah, it was excellent. He touched on a lot of very important topics in relation to that bill that he's trying to pass.
Exactly.
And I just want to reiterate.
Okay, now that's family court reform, and yeah, you have a summary there?
Yeah.
What bill number is that?
Basically, this is SS 358A, and it's got a lot of subtitles.
Okay, but it's basically, though, Assembly 6269.
AO 6269,
Right,
correct,
okay.
is the bill summary, right. And it makes numerous modifications to provisions of various laws relating to child custody matters. It provides for shared parenting custody, parenting time rather than visitation. Visitation right now, as it stands, is basically 4 days a month.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you're not a parent, you're a visitor.
Exactly.
What we want to do is try to, the bill wants to try to do is incorporate the non-custodial parent back into the child's life as a parent, and be recognized as a parent. Okay, it also encourages mediation and counseling in matrimonial actions involving children. Sanctions for interference with parenting time. In other words, sanctions for interference with parenting time. This is important. Sanctions are fines. And for a parent who tries to interfere with visitation of the non-custodial parent will be heavily fined.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and fines, if I'm not mistaken, run on the average now in the Supreme Court at around $5,000. Starting at $5,000.
Well,
so that would discourage you.
Now,
right
could
there.
that also be taken care of by, in an extreme case, by losing custody? That parent losing custody.
Well, that's another good.
By preventing visitation by the other parent.
Well, that's another good point, because as a matter of fact, and I think we're going to have to raise this question in a letter, and remind me to make a note and write that letter. There was a Supreme Court in the Bronx, Vernon versus Vernon, was the case law that went. The case went to appeals, the appellate division in the Bronx, and it was ruled in the favor of the non-custodial parent in that case law that interference with visitation is grounds for
That's common sense.
custody change.
That's common sense. In other words, by having that provision, it prevents these crazy occurrences.
Right. As a matter of fact, in an earlier segment, we did a few months back. I had just heard about that case, Vernon versus Vernon.
Right, you told me about that.
That's right, and I didn't have all the facts at that time. And I will bring, as a matter of fact, I have it. I have now the actual trial transcript. I have the case facts and all the case law, supporting case law that went to the appellate division to support that. So,
Is that possibly, is that provision in this bill, or it might be in the Sidickman bill? I don't know, we're gonna go over some of the main points of this
that's a good
bill,
point.
right?
Well, we should look into that, because
Okay.
this kind of commingles Sidigman's bill into this one, because it touches on a few of the topics in that shared parenting bill.
Because we both know many men who have trouble seeing their kids. You have trouble seeing your kids,
Well, it's all because
okay?
of the same
And
thing.
nothing's being done about that custodial parent.
Right, that's because the system, the way it's set up now, the way it's structured now, is to place a bounty on the children's heads. The children become prizes. So there's a winner and a loser, okay?
Yeah.
New York State is
Yep.
what they call sole custody state.
Exactly.
There's no such thing as shared parenting, and that's what shared parenting means.
That's exactly what these bills that we're fighting
That's
for
what
are
this is
gonna
all about,
change.
right,
Yeah.
because now it makes enemies out of the parents. So how can you have a friendly environment and acting in the best interest of the
You
children?
can't.
How can you have,
John, we're running out of time. I think we got about 5 minutes, so
Okay.
maybe you want to read, did you finish that summary?
no, actually,
Okay.
a few quick topics here involving the children. They want to also reduce the age to emancipate the children at 18 years old instead of 21.
As are most states.
47 of them, I believe, to be
Yes.
exact. There's only 3 states left. They want to restructure the child support to base it on net income rather than gross.
Very important.
Right, because the non-custodial parent has to pay on his gross.
Exactly.
And becomes impossible for him to support himself.
The non-custodial
herself.
parent is paying tax on that money, while
The
the
custodial
custodial
parent
parent
is
gets
reaping
it
the tax benefit.
tax-free. Tax-free.
Right.
Tax-free money.
And not only, but gets the tax benefit of
Yeah.
claiming the children.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword, right, so that has to be changed. And the support collection agents are to be audited, and family court to the general public should be open, an open forum, not closed, behind
Exactly.
closed doors.
Exactly.
There's nothing to hide, there's nothing to hide here.
No more shenanigans.
Right.
Do we have time to read the justification? Because we
Yeah,
probably
just-
only have a couple of minutes.
Okay. Yeah, basically, we covered just about all the topics in this. The justification is the family court is an adversarial forum where one side defaults the other, allowing a winner and a loser to be declared, just as we had stated many times previously. However, any child will tell you that he or she is not looking for either parent to be evaluated as a winner or loser. The children don't want to lose a parent. The children want to love both parents.
Exactly.
And unconditionally. When one parent is assigned sole custody or joint legal custody with primary residence, the other parent is reduced to a peripheral visitor status. Okay? Not a parent. You're reduced to a
Exactly.
visitor. And it's
And the
very...
child looks upon that as so, as such.
the effects are overwhelming of
Exactly.
what happens to
Yeah.
the children.
Yeah.
Not
And somehow the child maybe blames that person. You know, why did my father leave?
There's a lot of
Why
anger,
did-
right.
yeah.
Well, even
What?
with the mother, they get mad at the mother for creating the situation.
It's not good.
The bottom line is emotional distress.
Mm-hmm.
And naturally, you know what happens. You've read the statistics. Suicides, drug abuse,
horrible.
prostitution,
Yeah.
promiscuousness, all of that stuff. This is all of the result of this. So this bill attempts to mitigate the adversarial nature of family court by mandating mediation prior to any appearance in family court in a divorce involving children, by establishing with the family court judges that shared parenting custody is in the best interest of the child, and by ensuring that child support goes to the child's needs without being financially destructive to the support paying parent.
Very good, excellent. That covers it. That's so nice. Is that a lot to ask? I mean, what was really striking, we really ran out of time, but natural rights. I remember reading, that was in that petition, the natural rights. Why do we have to fight for our natural rights?
Right.
Natural parental rights
It's some form
that the state took away, that we've got to get them back.
Well, this country, I think our forefathers and over the years have fought for many years to destroy and rid the world of communism
Right.
and terrorism.
Right.
and yet we're supporting it right here in our own state, in our own backyard.
John?
By not supporting these bills.
Good stuff. Great show. This is important. All the viewers out there, please email us with your suggestions, your feedback. Until next week, good night from the Men's Forum.